Right. Good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Do you want to become IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS? Ladies and gentlemen, we Unacademy with top educators of India and meticulously designed quality content. We have been waiting for you, waiting to shape you especially so that you realize your dream, goal. You become leader in your own capacity. Once you enroll yourself in an academy, ladies and gentlemen, you might be well aware you will undergo a great learning experience. Unacademy, this is India's largest and the best online education platform. You might be aware. What are all the benefits you are likely to get once you enroll yourself in an academy? That's going to be your question. Of course, you got daily live classes. You can chat with your educator. You can engage in all-round discussions. You can also, ask all your genuine doubts and participate in the answer polls. All those things you can do with the sessions going on. You got structured courses here, completely based on UPSC Civil Service Examination pattern and syllabus as well, so that we ensure you never get deviated from the expected framework. And you got, that live test and quiz programs. Why? You might be aware. You keep on emphasizing this particular very point. You might be, that yes, it's not knowing the stuff, knowing to deliver the stuff because delivery matters. And it's not what you deliver, rather how do you deliver. We've got a mechanism for that particular purpose, to evaluate you, especially in your various stages of preparation by conducting regular mock tests and quiz programs. You in turn get a detailed analysis based on your performance. You come to know where you are strong, where you are weak, and also the time you have consumed in solving a particular question. Not only that, once you enroll yourself in an academy, ladies and gentlemen, you got unlimited access to more than 1 million videos. You will come to know. And it's whatever may be your electronic device, whether it is mobile phone, laptop, even desktop, you can learn from anywhere, anytime. Yes, just that way, ladies and gentlemen. What you have to do, please download an academy learning app immediately, whether it is Android or iOS, ladies and gentlemen. You can immediately access all those benefits. Not only that, who is this interacting with you? Of course, this is Success Sampath from Chennai with unique experience, that I've got exposed to the fields of, engineering, management, and legal education with 25 years of experience in the field of, coaching, especially shaping the careers of, civil service aspirants. With my, the team, I could witness the humble results. Of course, the 250 plus results, that as IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, all my kids are working in different parts of India and some of them in abroad as well. You might be aware. You can also parallelly ask me another question. What's your vision, sir? If that's going to be your question, of course, to provide career solution, especially by enabling youths of India better to embrace the global community. Fortunately, this particular vision of mine is completely in alignment with Unacademy's vision. We are working together to shape you so that you realize your dream, goal. You can also reach me through Unacademy, of course, that the YouTube platform, even, Telegram channel. Use my ID, please, of course, Success Sampath or Sampath, even, Sampath Iruvengidam. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only me, more than 100 plus top educators of India, part of an academy, waiting for you, waiting to shape you, right? Under civil service examination, we got two major programs. One is plus program, another one is iconic program. Of course, that you can choose program, in such a way, according to your, time availability and the budget, whether it is 1 month program or 36 months or 3 years program, you can choose. Choose what suits you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only for, subject specific module. You can also go for, prelims, cum mains, of course, general studies preparation, even for optional subject. Please use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount, right? What is iconic program? More than plus program, we recommend this iconic program. Why? Because you will be allotted a personal coach, a mentor to take care of you, to understand your nature and to suggest study planner accordingly, and also to train you on everyday basis in terms of answer writing practices. Here too, that you got, program, of course, that from 12 months to, that the 3 years program, you can choose accordingly. Please use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. It's not only that subject specific module, of course, the GS or prelims contains GS even for optional subjects, right? And all popular optional subjects you'll be that getting support on the part of Unacademy, right? And that let me repeat once again, whatever may be your time availability, whatever may be your budget, accordingly you can choose the program, starting from 1 month to maximum 36 months or 2 years. What is that? Starting from that 5K to maximum that 90K, you got courses here. And also you can enjoy 10% discount using my referral code, say success. It is German. I think that's fantastic. It is right time. Let me take you to the next level. And some of you have joined now. Yeah, I understand. So welcome to Unacademy. It is German. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Yes, yes, of course, this is in continuation of the various sessions we had in the past. Of course, that sociology is a very popular subject and highly scoring too. You might be aware. You can score more than 450 plus out of 500 because we have, that given separate video for that. You please go through all those videos, that are the part of, YouTube. 450 plus out of 500, it is possible. For that, I've, that shared the strategy, the tools. And it is also a very popular subject. Why? If you ask me, because you are living in this society. The society is in you. The familiarity of all those elements of sociology. What is sociology? Of course, well. It is science of society, study about society. What is society? Of course, more than me. What is the point? It is a system or network of social relationship. It's more than people, something existing among the people. That network of relationship, not this or that, everything taken together. Marital, familial, educational, economic, political, religious, even social stratification, everything put together. That's why, as a sociologist, of course, you're not sociologist, you are civil service aspirant, your duty to score is to score, more than 450 plus out of 500. Definitely you can do. For that, you have supply technology, as I told you earlier. Please watch that video. But the point is, as a sociologist, a sociologist will study about society because society is laboratory for him, for her. It is systematic study. It is also called integrated study. It is called scientific study. That is why the report you arrive at is very precise, accurate. And most of the people are waiting there. Maybe part of civil society, international organization, even media people, judiciary people, legislators, planners, the regional and international organization put together. Of course, why? The preciseness, accuracy with which that the sociological report available. Why? It's because of that, scientific study, systematic study, integrated study. It is otherwise called objectivity. That is the core principle of, the sociology. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about that. You never take sides. You know the two aspects of a single phenomenon. You are capable of seeing two sides of a single coin so that you understand the truth. Objectivity, value neutrality, even cultural relativism you call. Nothing is absolutely correct and nothing is absolutely wrong. The context decides what is right and what is wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, this you arrive at. Otherwise, that will transform your personal, the very subject matter of sociology. Yeah, I said, that 450 plus out of sociology, out of 500 possible. How? Because the very technology, that with which you come to know, you please, I'm mentioning repeatedly because you should not miss that video. The grand score. It's not only scoring in sociology. Parallelly, you can also score good marks in your general studies mains portion. And also, well, the very essay paper, out of, the various topics, if you take into account, you can group them under 8 categories. One of the categories belonging to the subject matter called sociology, society, culture. You come to know. Even if you go to interview, that you will go to interview, that when you go to interview, all the questions asked in such a way, you are asked to, take a stand. What is your decision? Why? Even in mains written, you got questions like, do you think? What is your stand? What's your opinion? Comment like that. That expects you to take a particular decision based on your understanding, based on your awareness, based on the analysis and critical thinking. Since you got exposed to the subject matter of sociology, it becomes very easy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're talking about. Of course, this is, that this sociology, the subject matter, we discussed various videos in the past. You please watch them all, the perspectives, structural functionalism, conflict school of thought, even symbolic interactionism, even basic concepts of this particular subject matter. Because sociology expects you to understand the subject matter. Once you understand, it's nothing because you know everything. I repeatedly mentioned this particular statement. I'm not teaching you anything because you know everything about the society, because society is in you. You are part of the society. You have been socialized. You are brought up in such a way. You know what is right, what is wrong, what is the value system, what is culture, what is social institution, what is social structure, what is social group, why society is changing culturally, structurally, functionally. This is all about, you may not be knowing exact nomenclatures, the keywords, but you know what it is. My duty is to connect this subject matter with the so-called your understanding. I'm not going to do anything more than that. It's very simple for me. Preaching is easier than practice, but your action is going to speak louder than my words on the day of your judgment day, on the day of examination. Well, understanding is a key. Please watch all those basic concepts also. Not only that, I took you to the various thinkers, whether it's Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim, the Max Weber, of course, the Talcott Parsons, Archimedes, and even that the very G.H. Mead symbolic interactionism, and also Indian sociologists. We took you G.S. Gurye, M.N. Srinivas, A.R. Desai, and also some institutions. Of course, some units also we discussed, that social stratification, caste system, social classes in India. Please watch all those things. You will come to know. You will come to know what? You know everything. That is what you will come to know. You know already everything. I know this already. That is what going to be your answer, because this is what your understanding, your living, your style of life has been configured in the name of syllabus that has been recommended by UPSC. You go through the syllabus, you will come to know. So that is what I'm saying. The familiarity, apart from scoring 450 plus out of 500, because I'm qualified enough, because I could score fantastic marks, and my kids could score well. That's why they are officers now. You can also join that particular club of scoring top marks in sociology. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. Welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Of course, the various videos, the part of the series of videos, of course, we are talking about part of, subject matter called sociology. Not only that, even the videos meant for essay, videos meant for, the very international relations already available. You can watch them. Yes. But what is today? Of course, it is the change with continuity. What is today? Today we are going to discuss, what is green revolution, its impact on Indian society. Of course, how, in what way it changed Indian society. That is what, that today's topic of discussion. That's what the very purpose, and that's what direction also. Ladies and gentlemen, that we will be talking, that the topic and its context, and also what is social change, then what is green revolution in India, in what way it is responsible for change in India, the social change and green revolution, the positive changes, negative changes, or positive consequences, negative consequences, or uneven changes. Maybe positive changes, brought social order or peace, maybe from structural functionalism school of thought. Maybe the very green revolution is, itself responsible for widening social inequality. Rich gets richer, poor gets poorer. Maybe it's quite dangerous scenario. Situation is ripe for communist. The exploitation, the social, the contradictions, simmering discontent that leads to radical revolution, that leads to change. Maybe that's conflict school of thought. They may look at that way. So green revolution is functional to Indian society, maybe according to structural functionalism school of thought. Maybe it is additional tools in the hands of ruling class ideology to widen the rift between rich and poor, maybe according to conflict school of thought. Yeah, of course, from two different perspectives, you can look at the same phenomenon called social change. Of course, we're going to discuss, and also sociological flavor we have to touch. It's not general studies paper to discuss mere green revolution. We should be more concerned about impact of this green revolution in such a way to bring change in society, Indian society, of course, Indian community, culturally, structurally, functionally. That is what the bone of contention. It's not mere focusing on green revolution aspect, a part of general studies, right? We are more interested in this portion. Impact of green revolution on Indian society. It is that way. And what are all the resources to be consulted to take you to the next level, apart from the discussion? Because you know everything. In spite of that, I take this opportunity to refresh your ideas, to formalize, to structure your understanding, and also connecting with real nomenclatures, keywords on the part of the syllabus called subject matter sociology. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we? Yes. This is what our, that the focus. Of course, let me take you, because it is sociology is highly scoring and also very popular. Why, that we discuss. Yes. And what is the context? Why we are discussing? Yeah, because it is part of the syllabus. Especially paper 2. Paper 2, Indian society, the structure and change in Indian society. Of course, we are talking about this particular unit we are talking about. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the C portion, social change in India, where rural and agrarian transformation in India, how it happened. Under various topics we are discussing the programs of rural development, community development program, the poverty alleviation schemes, the various schemes and cooperative mechanisms, and green revolution and social change, the changing modes of production in Indian agriculture we are talking about, and also the problems of rural labor, the bondage, migration, everything. It is part of the syllabus. But today, our discussion is centered around this particular topic. It is going to be a brief session. I understand the festival mood you are in. We won't be taking much of your time, but you have to understand, as I told you yesterday in previous video also, you got right to celebrate, but you got responsibility also. You got a duty to discharge because you're civil service aspirant. You got ambition. We even when eyes are focused on sky, your legs should be grounded. Stay grounded. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, of course, that we are talking about the very green revolution and social change. It is part of the syllabus. We got our relevance, the topic, why. And also not only that, the previous year question, in 2016, you got a question, of course, write a note on uneven impact of green revolution on rural society. Because it is centered around rural phenomena. Something deals with agriculture, no doubt, but it is not free from the impact on urban areas. Because that led to migration. That also, the second generation green revolution, people started going for, mechanization of agriculture. There comes, the role of urban industrial society, the tractors, all those, the pesticides, fertilizers you talk about. And also institutionalized lending. Because it is not free from the impact on urban areas also. But the question was centered around, that the impact on rural society. They critically analyze the social consequences, may be positive and negative. That green revolution, social consequence. It is generally, it is that way. That I think it is the right time. This, I think, I established the context. That why we are discussing. What is social change? Even we discussed already. The change in society is called that social change. The change could be that sometimes evolutionary, sometimes cyclic, and you got various theories to justify the change, the alteration, the transformation. What do you call that in various manifestations? Maybe you call it evolution, maybe you call that development, maybe you call growth. You got variety of terms, that of course we will be discussing in detail about that. But for this particular session's sake, you please understand the change, alteration happening in the society. Maybe the change in terms of culture. What is culture? It is a way of life, style of life. It's a blueprint of society. You might be well aware. The change in terms of your knowledge, your character. Maybe that the very value system, the very social norm, the faith, belief pattern, everything. That knowledge, art, belief, language, literature, everything as a human being, as part of the society, what are all the things you acquired in your lifetime by the socialization, by you were brought up. You got exposed, maybe institutionalization. You took in through various agents of socialization, through various social institutions, the internalization you underwent, put together, called, of course, brought up, otherwise called, sociologically speaking, socialization. You are the byproduct of your own culture, your own socialization. The change happening in terms of your food habits, the dress, that your thinking, your value system, you believe in, your faith, everything put together, the change in terms of culture. Of course, the change in terms of structure, the various changes happening in various social institutions. Of course, where you bring ultimately the institutions like, that marriage, family, your relatives, kinship, educational institutions, economic institution, political institution. The change happening, the various in various social institutions. You got exposed. You are living with that. You are part of them. And also functionality change. The change in terms of function. What do you mean by function? Social consequences responsible for bringing social order. That is what social function. When it is promoting social order, it's called functional. When it is weakening already existing social order, it could be called dysfunctional to the society. Of course, it could be manifest function, latent functional, functional, dysfunctional. This is what we speak. For example, that you just, that for example, you talk about, the changing role of women. Of course, the functionality of women, her presence, her social consequences while she is participating in agriculture. Even, that, of course, Nivedita man gone to the extent of saying, feminization of poverty, because it has become a man's domain, man's arena, the very agriculture. The role played by, children and women, very meager. They're going to talk about all those things ultimately. The change in, male became, a preferred kid, because, to work in the fields, you need male support, male children. All these things we are talking about. The change, all these things we are talking about. Of course, accordingly, the functionality changes. What is the function, that allocated to women now undergoes phenomenal shift. Otherwise, men migrating to urban areas because they have become landless laborers because of the, the tendency. All tenants have been evacuated. Agriculture has become lucrative business. The landlords, they started doing direct agriculture, evicted all those tenants. Ultimately, what happened? They're without lands. Ultimately, they started working somewhere the neighborhood towns as workers. Migration that reduced, the family without husbands, without men. Ultimately, women, children only. They ultimately took part. Hitherto, house chorus activities, the household activities, that meant for women. Now she started taking, the part in very agriculture also. The change in functionality. To speak about that, change in way of life, style of life, you would have witnessed already the terms like Sanskritization, Westernization. How green revolution responsible for change in culture. Maybe the rich landlords, that they accumulated wealth. Because of that wealth, ultimately that supported industrialization. Maybe, that there are education, to abroad education or higher education, maybe exposed to liberal value system. Maybe there comes, that the change in value system. To speak on behalf of collectivity, to, that speaking on behalf of your own career growth, individual achievement, privacy. That's the change in value system. From collectivism to individualism. You don't speak on behalf of your rural community. Rather, you want to speak on behalf of your own career. Maybe in Tamil, there is a movie called Thevar Mahan. That role, that guy wanted to establish one restaurant in UK, not want to settle in the very rural area. Maybe son of, that one village sarpanch. I don't know what's in Hindi. I think, that Anil Kapoor movie, you can watch that. I think, that, but in Tamil Nadu, of course, that it is Thevar Mahan, of course, Kamal Hassan. You might be, that speaks about the change in value system, the impact of, that the very green revolution, the change in structure. Of course, what happened, right? The very, that joint family you can talk about. Change in the institution called joint family. It is no more joint family because most of the vital functions have been taken over by the rest of the institution. It got reduced to, that nuclear and neolocal family. Change in institution, you call, that the very structural change. Maybe modernization. Because of 150 years rules of the British, we got exposed to that. Yes, we spoke already. So change in culture, change in structure, change in function. What do you mean by function? It could be functional, dysfunctional. It could be manifest or latent. What do you mean by function, social function? It is otherwise social consequences responsible for bringing a change. Here you're talking about social consequences responsible for bringing social order or affecting social order, weakening social order, where you may call change. It is general. That way we are talking about. It could be the change in rural, the areas, change in urban areas also. We spoke about that possibility, opportunity, of course, So the change in Indian society, the change in Indian community otherwise, how culturally, structurally, functionally, by how? Because yesterday we discussed through social control mechanisms, especially formal control mechanisms, the previous video you can watch. How constitution and law, the formal, that mechanisms of social control responsible for bringing change in Indian society. Of course, it is also part of that particular formal mechanism. Of course, it is policy decision. The 1960s and 70s, India could witness because of the very technology, green revolution. It is official policy. So it is formal, but the point is, that it came with technology. It came with high yielding variety seeds. Not only that, with heavy input, application of fertilizers, pesticides, and also that expects you to have, that well irrigated lands. Various, that the things, we are going to discuss all the elements. In what way, that it is responsible for, making India to attain self-sufficiency in food grains, to eradicate hunger and poverty. Of course, in what way, that the productivity maximization happened thanks to the technology. Of course, you talk about thanks to the technology here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is right time we are talking about. Let me take you to the next level. What is that? Green revolution. Yes, of course, it is a radical change. That's why it is called revolution. It's not a gradual change. To make, that to attain, self-sufficiency in food grains. Why? To eradicate hunger. Because, the famines we witnessed, that prior to introduction of the green revolution. So India was forced to import, the TL 480 varieties from United States of America. It was this famine, hunger. But that's not free from, the strings attached, you might be aware, the menace we feel. Get something from somebody, nothing comes free. What will happen ultimately? They will expect you to do something. Wow. Once you become signatory to the multilateral treaties, don't you lose your sovereignty? It is that way. Not free from, strings attached we are talking about. So our sovereignty got threatened. The menace we were facing. Fortunately, ultimately, the thanks to, that Norman Borlaug, the father of green revolution in the world, and also Indian Council of Agriculture, that research that time, Director General, the Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, responsible for introducing that in India, because that the Asian countries, even that Latin American countries, could eradicate their famine, hunger, poverty because of this green revolution by attaining self-sufficiency in food grains. The Mexico, even Philippines in Asia, they're talking about why? Because of the introduction of this technology called green revolution. You might be aware. So the green revolution refers to the development of high-yielding variety seeds. High-yielding variety seeds that improves, otherwise maximization of productivity. In place of 2 tons of that the paddy per hectare, you started reaping, of course, that 6 tons of the paddy. Just see the shift, phenomenal shift. Max productivity maximization, right? Especially the decades of 60s and later 70s also. That led to the rise in the output of food crops. Otherwise, India attained self-sufficiency in food grains because of the green revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about that. Of course, yes, we spoke Norman E. Borlaug and M.S. Swaminathan. Of course, the fathers, Norman E. Borlaug, father of green revolution. The Rockefeller Foundation, it supported his research. M.S. Swaminathan, then Director General of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, called father of green revolution. Even one politician, that the food minister then, C. Subramaniam, late Shri C. Subramaniam, you might be aware. He also, equally called those days. So all those seeds of, that the green revolution were shown in early 19, the very 50s, were shown, that it is not shown, it is found. You have to remove that. Huh? In 1950s, Mexico, the term green revolution was coined by, of course, another gentleman, William Gard, in 1960s. We are talking about. So that that what happened in those states of Latin America and Asia, we started, that applying here. The 1961, the Intensive Agricultural Development Program, we are talking about IADP. This is, about timeline. In what way, that it got introduced. To some extent, you should know. Otherwise, you can't appreciate. You can't talk about, impact on Indian society. But it is not GS way. It is sociological flavor way. Got the idea? No? The sociological way. In what way it affected, social groups, social institutions in India, communities in India, and employment in India, affected women, downtrodden the community, the small and marginal farmers, and in what way it widened the gap between the Indian social structure, rich and poor. That way, the change in terms of culture, structure, function. That way, you have to look into that. What is that? So, intensive agriculture development program, which focused upon diffusing the technological know-how, of course, the credit, institutional lending, and agriculture technology in the selected districts in a pilot mode. Of course, they take a particular district and they will implement. They will see, that the progress in that. That and all the things happen. So, that ultimately paved the way for that green revolution in India. This is the timeline I'm talking about. 1966, of course, the application, the use of high yielding variety, that seeds program we are talking about, especially during the Kharif season. The 1966, that then it is systematic way of introducing a particular thing in India. Of course, you got a timeline for that. Of course, that to to fix all those melodies on the part of the very green revolution, which was accused with various phraseologies, you might be aware. It became red revolution. Why? The widening gap between rich and poor, regional imbalances. That's why the green revolution was christened as red revolution by critics. That's also true. And also you might be aware, that it favored few crops like wheat and paddy. It was called brown revolution. To fix that, that the government ultimately woke up to the occasion. They introduced, white revolution. The max, thanks to, Dr. Varghese Kurian, you might be aware. Amul, what happened, right? Took, that the dairy products, time. You might be aware. In Bharat Darshan, you will witness all those the successful people and the respective places in India. You're going to visit. You might be aware. And also the pink revolution in terms of meat. We're talking about, to fix anomalies. We don't want mere green revolution, because why? It can be practiced only in the well irrigated areas. We want even to arid and semi-arid region, we have to implement. We wanted evergreen revolution. So that's why the second green revolution we launched. And that gave importance, that on sustainable agriculture by the incorporation of, that even genetically modified varieties, and also going for organic farming. A lot of things we brought in. And even, that from mere, that wheat and paddy to other core cereals, the commercial crops too. We started, that focusing on varieties also, and also horticulture, everything. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about in 2002, of course, that India proposed second green revolution. That we don't want mere green revolution, we wanted evergreen revolution. We are working towards it. What is that? With inclusion of genetically engineering crops, we are talking about genetically modified foods. Recently, you would have heard news item. BT cotton, BT brinjal, genetic engineering appraisal committee, Mako, Monsanto. You would have heard about it. Maximization of productivity at the cost of what? That comes, how prepared we are. That during UPA administration, you might be aware, there was a moratorium. That Shri Jairam Ramesh was the union minister. You might be aware then. Of course, now this government gave way for that, because you have to embrace the technology, because given various issues, but it should be, that approached, that very cautiously. That's totally different scenario. You might be aware. And also, that the very horticulture mission, what I said, that the fruits, vegetables, flowers, you talk about 2005 and 6, of course, to enhance the production of fruit, vegetables, spices, flowers got introduced. It's a see the timeline. And also even the northeastern region, that brought under, that Krishi Kalyan, Vikas Yojana we are talking about, especially 2010-11, bringing green revolution to eastern India. We're talking about, these are all the various measures part of green revolution. It's not, one particular year. The progress, the roadmap you see. Of course, maybe it first, that the first, that green revolution, of course, we speak, 60s and 70s. Later, you are talking about, and it's the evolution. And it is right time, let me take you to the very various components involved on the part of, the green revolution. Without which, of course, India became very successful in its implementation. The criticism apart. But it's not free from the impact. It has got its own negative consequences also. We are going to discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, because a coin has got two sides, well. Then only you will understand the truth. Of course, that it is also successful. India attained self-sufficiency in food grains because of the green revolution. You should not forget the fact. Of course, 4.5, that the million food grains we also, recently exported, you might be aware. It's that way we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, and the first component, of course, high yielding variety seeds we are talking about. The high yielding variety seeds, that of course, that got increased, responsiveness to the chemical fertilizers. The period of maturing also short. So instead of 130 to 150 days, you can do it in that 111 days to the 100. See, that is what we are talking about. Of course, that, and also you go for that multiple cropping. The multitasking, the parallelism that you do. So the new seeds of, the rice and wheat, that normally take around, that of course, the 100 to 1, that 10 days instead of, that 130 to 150 days. We are talking about, its maturing period is very short. The short span, that you produce more. Fortunately, you get, that one more opportunity. That's what, the 3 times, 4 times agriculture you do when you go for short varieties, short duration varieties. Yes, it is that way. It's not only making very agriculture profitable, also, that eradicating famine, the short span of time. Ladies and gentlemen, not only that, high yielding variety seeds, that also helping to generate more employment, since under the optimum conditions required for more labor per unit area. You might be aware. Instead of going for twice, that when maybe you do agriculture, Kharif and Rabi season twice. Given the short duration, you can go for many a times, 3 times, 4 times, that again, incorporation of more people in the agriculture. They get job. They get, that earlier they were given, that given kind for the compensation of, their own, that the labor, the wage was given in kind. Now cash. This is also change in attitude. And also with price rise, that what happened, the change in culture, we are going to talk about it. You'll come to know. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about it is that way. So the next component we are talking about, number one, seeds. Number two, that water irrigation available, because Punjab and all, they went for tube well irrigation. That's what the accusation. The groundwater, ultimately got contaminated. No conservation measure, over exhaustion of the resources ultimately. That's accusation also, especially the Haryana, the Punjab, the Western UP belt, they were, that's what, the belt of Green Revolution you are going to witness. Yes, the irrigation, it is the second most important component of Green Revolution after high yielding variety seeds. How? Because, where you talk about over irrigation and under irrigation, both are, that injurious to the crop. Over irrigation also, that causes problem. Even under irrigation, that may not support the plant's growth, injurious to the crop we are talking about. So irrigation is must. As Indian rainfall, the Indian agriculture is otherwise called, the gambling of monsoon. You might be aware, the southwest monsoon. But of course, this is a season, November, December, especially in South India, Tamil Nadu. You might be aware, it's that the northeast monsoon impact now we are undergoing. You might be aware. It's a reverse phenomenon, reverse monsoon. You might be aware. So it's phenomenon in that South Asia, especially now the mousim. It's derived from the word called mousim. You might be aware. So Indian agriculture is otherwise called gambling of monsoon. Why? But this year you had that sufficient rainfall, no doubt at all, according to Indian Meteorological the department, because the monsoon delayed is monsoon denied. When failure of monsoon leading to failure of agriculture, then government has to put more money to to rescue that agriculture. Otherwise, people involved in that, protect them. Ultimately, that has got that it's not free from budget deficit. You might be aware. Otherwise, people migrating from rural to urban areas, you have to stop them, and you have to announce scheme for that allocation of fund, and you have to avail more loans from international institutions to meet that budget deficit. It is not mere failure of monsoon; it is failure of the whole economy. Then it's a failure of governance, failure of administration that leads to, it's a failure of livelihood on the part of agricultural labor. See the impact, socio-economic, environment, political aspects we're talking about. This is how I want you to look at things, of course, as a civil servant, a future civil servant. Of course, even for civil service examination, your answer writing practices, the impact on Indian society, the lifestyle changes, culture, structure, changing in institution. Joint family breaks down the moment the guy is going to, migrating to urban areas, working in industries. He will set up a separate family, nuclear, neo-local family, institution breakdown. Yes. And also functionality changes. Hitherto owner, he has become worker there. Change in status, accordingly change in role. The status plus role is called, that the structure in its, the dynamism is called function. You're talking about if you speak in terms of micro level. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So as Indian rainfall is unreliable, of course this year we had sufficient rainfall, even excess rainfall. That's what editorials speaks as per that India Meteorological Department. Please go through, right? And irregular and season. That India is a country. It's well known for its own that wide imbalances. Same district, you will simultaneously announce that two different programs. One is called flood control program. Another one is called drought prone area program. Such is the that the vagariness, such is that the diversity within a district itself. Ladies and gentlemen, so Indian rainfall is unreliable, irregular, seasonal. There is an urgent need to expand irrigation potential. That is why the interlinking of rivers, even because the farmers committing suicide. Vidarbha, you would have heard about cotton farmers committing suicide. Even a lot of agricultural, the movements, the protests against farm bill. Recently, central government inviting various, that agriculture, that associations to come forward to discuss about that. You might be aware. What is the bone of contention, right? On the one hand, the central government trying to that liberalize agriculture from the traditional mode, the market oriented, whereas that on the other side, the fear that it may go against that small marginal farmers, what way they can be protected. Sometimes the states like Punjab trying to make a law that contradicts central government law. Of course, it should be done only with the the assent of the President of India. You might be aware, and there are other states trying to go through the Supreme Court, the court route, right? What are all the things happening? Of course, that. So very recently, Kaleshwaram project. What happened in Telangana? You might be aware. In lifting the water, you might be aware, and also interlinking of rivers, which is not free from disputes, which is not free from the environmental impact assessment or tiger projects. Madhya Pradesh, Panavana, we are talking about. Of course, all perennial rivers of the northern India can be linked with that the southern peninsula rivers, so that you won't find problem. Of course, the feasibility. Of course, government is working on. You might be aware. The topography, so many things to be weighed. It should not create some sort of stress on land, and that should cause the earthquakes again. The seismic zones may be shifting. Then we are to some extent we have to weigh options. We're talking about, of course, the irrigation potential we are talking about. Of course, that the timing of irrigation and quantity of water, supplied. That of course, when you're running short, that's why today we are talking about the sprinkling of the irrigation. This, of course, Israel is coming forward and giving us, sharing with us that the technology, drip irrigation, sprinkling irrigation, you might be aware. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. That the satisfactory performance of the crop, in case that the wheat appropriate timing, because the water budget, you might be aware, water budget, how much time, how the quantity of water consumed in making a particular product, and you have to work that way. So that comes ultimately, that you have to conserve water, the scarce resource. And you might be aware, World Bank report, right? That, and most of the Indian cities likely to witness, that that absence of water. You might be drinking water, and also sea advances, the contamination of water, the groundwater by the advancement of sea, making the water saline ultimately. You have to work in that way. There is generally, given all these vagaries, you got problem. You have to irrigate the agricultural land we are talking about. Spacing irrigation rice yields as much as that. That the 50%, even other inputs like fertilizers are not applied. That of course, it talks about the importance of the irrigation. What if we don't have, that? So this is one of the important element after high yielding variety seeds. There is gentlemen, that you think about, if the land is not irrigated, it may not be coming under the green revolution. That's why we say arid and semi-arid region getting affected because of that. Not only that, the very chemical fertilizers, other inputs, fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, we're talking about the natural fertility of the soil decreases over the period. That we are talking about, that, and high yielding variety seeds, also known as the hungry varieties, which require high dose of fertilizers, give more yield. So this HY, the HYV variety, the high yielding variety seeds, it demands other associated inputs also, the irrigation and also fertilizers. And also in terms of fertilizer consumption, that South India was dominating till 1970. What happened after this green revolution? Punjab, Haryana, the western Uttar Pradesh, especially North India started dominating this sphere. You might be aware in terms of the fertilizer consumption. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the insecticides and pesticides. That we are talking about parallelly. That. So the monoculture promoted by the green revolution is more vulnerable to the very that insects and pests. Thus, the pesticides and germicides becomes compulsory. You got the idea, na? So we are talking about. So it is not mere using of high yielding variety seeds and associated inputs, well irrigated land. You need that talks about affordability, and also that fertilizers and insecticides, pesticides. Then only the maximization of productivity we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, and also consolidation of land holding. What happened? The Hindu undivided family, joint family. When 8 brothers, 10 brothers are they're there. When the land is getting divided, what will happen? That goes against agriculture. The small and fragmented landholding has been the main problem. It's thanks to recent efforts, the community farming people are going for. It might be aware. Community farming. They connect the lens. They go for the cooperative farming. You might be aware. That's fantastic. We appreciate that. Main problem in the process of agriculture and also land reforms. It's a failure. The improper land reforms, that you might be aware, how politicians, that are responsible for blocking, that otherwise the executives, that from affluent background, how they were responsible, that in conniving with, politicians for scuttling these efforts, you might be aware. India after independence, of course, we did a lot of things, you might be aware. So zamindari system, of course, that, and under that, you talk about zamindars used to exploit the farmers, no doubt. Of course, Karl Marx, that is true here. How is exploiting the have-nots? Thus, after independence, reforms, especially land reforms, that introduced, and the intermediaries like, the zamindari system, you might be aware, the Mahalwari, Zamindari, Rayatwari, you heard all those things. That the very zamindari system was abolished. The further ceilings, land ceilings, that imposed ultimately, but not they were scuttled, not effectively implemented. You might be aware. One of the objectives of this particular land reform, you might be aware, land should be given to the tillers of the land. Even Acharya Vinoba Bhave, who came under Buddha movement, different parts of India and acquired land to redistribute, land to the landless laborers. Redistribution of land. Land should not be the exclusive domain of, few elites. That should be redistributed. Redistributive justice, otherwise. That's going against, that widening inequality we are talking about, but that's a failure. It is also part and parcel. We are talking about the ingredients, the agricultural credit, that of course we are talking about institutionalized lending, because when you talk about, pesticides, fertilizers, insecticide, that talks about input. Affordability becomes a question mark. So inputs like not only that, the very technology, maybe you go for, that use of the tractors and other, that even the electricity, the pump sets, when you talk about, that the tube wells, you need electricity. Of course, if otherwise you may be going for diesel engine, maybe the fertilizers, pesticides, everything depending on the availability of the credit. You talk about, the easy and cheaper credit is must. These are all the various, that are related components, that were responsible for making green revolution, of course, a success story in India. It is genuine. As I said, of course, the rural electrification, of course, that the subsidy, the waiver in, the bank loans availed by, agricultural, the people, you might be aware, and even zamindars benefited out of that to the tune of 50 lakhs. I hear from, some of my students. The vote bank politics, you might be aware, the subsidy, they don't address. Small and marginal farmers should have benefited, but all these things you might be aware. So electrical power is the nucleus of all technological development. Imperative, that's for, multiple cropping and intensification of agriculture. That rural electrification, the pump set, the electricity, continuous water flow, you might be aware. So the farm mechanization, even the tube well, that irrigation, you have to lift the water from well to, that the surface you need. And farm mechanization, because that the agricultural laborers, that varies from region to region, you might be aware. That saves the human labor and quickens the farm operations. You do it very faster. You see a lot of videos, that how the modern agriculture, mechanized agriculture. The Western countries, they don't have such, the human force. They do it, but it involves, a heavy application, the investment when you go for tractor or other, the agricultural equipments. And also, that simplifies the process. It improves also the farm efficiency and productivity, but that is not free from investment on it, you might be aware. And various, that R&D, agricultural, the universities came. Right. You're talking about, of course, that even very recently, what, that the Delhi, of course, that has become gas chamber, apart from particulate matters 2.5, the ppm present there, the persistent problem, the neighborhood states, of course, the Punjab, Haryana, they used to burn the staple, you might be aware, after agriculture, how in what way it is coming to, the Delhi region, and causing environmental hazards, smog formation, smoke plus fog, and also causing, the respiratory related illness, and given COVID situation, the loss of lives because of that. So Delhi government proactively did. We have to appreciate those people, part of governance, with the support of Agriculture Institute, PUSA, and they go for, a particular chemical that will decompose. You need not go for burning of your agriculture, the paddy staple after the cultivation. You just sprinkle all these, chemicals, and that's recommended by Agriculture Institute nearby PUSA. So that, that becomes manure also, increasing productivity. So this is what part of the solution. We have to appreciate that effort. that this is what the role of governance, to be part of the solution with the support of that R&D, or that think tanks, experts, civil society, maybe international organization, the regional organization. But here the role of agriculture university is crucial. That even if you take your that the soil, if you go to nearby agriculture university, they will support you. Agronomics, you might be aware, that what type of that the cultivation, what type of crops best suited for that, they will suggest you. And even that through television, through radio, that the dissemination of information, you might be aware. So the role of R&D, especially agriculture universities and other institutes, are primarily engaged in the agriculture research, and passing that research finding to the farmers. So ultimately farmers benefit out of it. The scientific agriculture, it's called otherwise. The role of institutions, think tanks, educated people, scholars, very crucial. And also R&D. They're talking about whether it is the Indian Council of Agriculture Research Institute, or whatever may be, even that MS Swaminathan Research Foundation in Taramani, Chennai also. And even he himself, MS Swaminathan, once he was the chairman of National Farmer Commission, you might be aware. All those that, and International Rice Research Institute, that the very thing, the Philippines, Manila, and also here, the Cuttack, Odisha you are talking about, of course, ladies and gentlemen. So all those things, we are talking about various elements, the part of green revolution. And now it is time, that for us to talk about, that the very impact of that particular green revolution, both positive and negative. Of course, it is not, that we are talking about, it would be nice if we have all these things. We are talking about, the very greeny, green pasture. Of course, the rosy picture you get, of course, we are talking about. That green revolution is all about wheat and paddy, you might be aware. That's why it's called brown revolution. But it should be our that aim or goal. Of course, that of course we do now. Second green revolution, that we diversified crops also, you might be aware. So what is that? The increased agricultural production. That's what we are talking about. The very increased agricultural production. Of course, that the production of wheat increased from 24 million tons in 1970s to 96 million tons for the 2013-14. You check with the latest fact also. It's up to you, but it's not GS. You don't need. It is sociology. How the maximization of productivity you're talking about. As I told you, right? From 2 tons of that, especially the very the productivity we spoke about that. Especially that we are talking about 6 tons per hectare. Per hectare, that from 1960s, it was that we are talking about 2 tons per hectare. It got that increased to the level of 6 tons per hectare. We are talking about. If you want the data, one more data, and also the productivity of wheat and rice, that almost double. That is what people are saying. That thanks to that green revolution we are talking about. For example, in the case of wheat, 850 kilograms per hectare. That was the yield in 1950s. That was the yield in 1950s. It got increased to 2,500 kilograms, per hectare in 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand. So productivity maximization, it's not a story. It is a truth, that it is tangible truth. You might be aware. So the production of rice increased from, that of course, the 31 million tons in 1965-66 to 106 million tons in 2013. That this is, just to have an idea. No doubt, increased productivity. When it comes to that wheat and paddy, it doubled, you might be aware. So the prosperity of farmers, so earning farmer increased. Ultimately, people started benefiting out of agriculture. Ooh, rich gets richer, poor gets poorer, because that talks about affordability. Just now we've seen various components of green revolution that talks about your affordability. Whatever may be, farmers, rich farmers, you might be aware. So reduction in import of food grains. PL 480 variety wheats, we were importing from USA. We stopped because of the success of green revolution, because we attained self-sufficiency in food grains. And dispersal of that rice and wheat cultivation to non-traditional areas. It's not only well irrigated areas. Parallelly, you also that to some extent you penetrated semi-arid regions nearby. We are talking about, so the green revolution spread the rice cultivation to semi-arid areas like Punjab, Haryana, and Western UP. We are talking about, and also wheat cultivation spread to the areas of Eastern Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and some parts of Maharashtra, Gujarat, West Bengal. So this is about that even non-traditional areas where these crops got introduced. You might be aware. We are talking about it's byproduct of green revolution, and also it led to industrial growth. Why? Because you need tools, mechanization of agriculture, more motors, no more diesel, the engines generated, more tractors, more agricultural equipments. Talk about. So, due to large scale mechanization, which was brought by Green Revolution and demand for different types of machines. What are all machines? Tractors, harvesters, all those things, increased along with increased demand. It's not only that, parallelly, the demand for, that more fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, we're talking about, that created some sort of, that more demands, that otherwise, that took industry to the next level because of those demands. Industrial growth we're talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. I think it's not only that, that incorporation of labor force there. That the largest sector, the primary sector of Indian economy to accommodate more laborers, you might be aware, that's agriculture. 62% of Indian, the population engaged in agriculture, you might be aware. But what is the outcome? Not proportionate to that. That's why we say subsistence agriculture we are talking about. So the rural employment, the large number of farm laborers migrated from the areas of, that it is that resulted in internal migration. People from Bihar, Eastern Uttar Pradesh, that they traveled to, Punjab, migrated to Punjab, and they got better employment opportunities. Even Bihar people are everywhere. Even in Tamil Nadu, the Tirupur garment industries, they are coming here in the all construction industries. Even today, it's happening. Internal migration, how they got affected during COVID situation, how Supreme Court judgment, some people died also. Thanks to Manrega, they were given opportunities, employment opportunities, 100 days of employment in their own respective places also. That could support them well. It's very fortunate, even ruling dispensation continued that, that Manrega, its allocation of, that resources for budget. You might be aware. So the migration, internal migration that happened during Green Revolution also. Of course, we are talking about, the well-renowned irrigation specialist, from Andhra Pradesh, of course, Hanumanta Rao. He recently, he passed away. You might be aware. The Jan, the 2018, of course, that very expert. He was part of, World Bank. You might be aware. He spoke other way around. Improvement in the food security of, the nation. It's because of the Green Revolution, and also additional direct or indirect. That both you take into account employment of 5 to 10 million workforce. It's because of the Green Revolution. He says, according to him. Hanumanta Rao, the irrigation specialist, who was part of, the World Bank, you might be aware. Well known, for, that his contribution, expertise to the agriculture field. When you talk about, ladies and gentlemen, the very negative impacts, of course, that where you're talking about, that it is regionalized. Only, the Punjab, Haryana, of course, this particular belt benefit, and also something like this we are talking about, but predominantly wheat and paddy, it is centered, that cultivation, uneven growth, imbalances that created some sort of imbalances. The Punjab, that of course Chandigarh, the Haryana, of course, Delhi, Western UP, we are talking about this particular region. So it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. It is not, that a distributive justice, that created some sort of unevenness, imbalances in Indian society. We are talking about the negative impacts of the Green Revolution. We are talking about, of course, ladies and gentlemen, that intercrop disparities. Green Revolution has promoted the monoculture of some remunerative, species, especially, that you talk about wheat and rice, which has benefited most. And sometimes people, due to this very reason, they term the Green Revolution as wheat revolution, or as brown revolution, because the brown color on the part of, wheat and paddy, you might be aware. The Green Revolution has snatched, that took away the areas from, other crops, meant for other crops like quartz cereals and pulses, oil seeds. What happened, it's completely, when people feel it is going to benefit them more, going to be highly productive, that commercially, so naturally they will travel towards that. It's very natural tendency, because they after all, for, the profit they want. What happened at the same time, major commercial crops like, the cotton, the jute, sugarcane, tea are almost untouched by it. It's that it's favored only the wheat and rice. That's why Green Revolution is otherwise called brown revolution. It is German. Do you understand? And moreover, it took away, the lands of, other crops, including commercial crops. That's what we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is right time. Let me take you to the next level. The regional imbalances. That's what we spoke now. Regional disparities. According to some estimates of Green Revolution, that the Green Revolution benefited 40% of the total crop area and 60% still untouched by it. You understand? So 40 out of 100. That is a score for green revolution. You might be aware. This has given rise to the regional imbalances, disparities we are talking about. So the benefited areas include, well, that's what we spoke, the Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, Northern India, and some parts of, Andhra Pradesh and some parts of Tamil Nadu as well. You're talking about not throughout India. There's unevenness, imbalances we are talking about, and also rise in interpersonal disparities. Rich gets richer, poor gets poorer. What will happen? Widening social inequality. That is what we are talking about. So big farmers who want 10 hectares or more of the land, what happened? They benefited because that goes with affordability, land availability, well irrigated land, affordability in terms so that you have access to fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, and also mechanization of agriculture, and also the electricity. About all these things, they benefited most from the green revolution as they've got financial resources to buy better seeds, fertilizers, and other required inputs. Thus green revolution made rich richer and left poor poorer. That is the accusation, the same accusation you put against globalization also. Apart from the benefits of globalization, globalization is also accused that way. Even demonetization is accused that. Even GST is accused that. Sometimes you say budget lacks human faith, right? That way, all those stories, right? So which resulted in widespread social and economic tensions we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, interpersonal disparities, widening social inequality. It affected, it's not a uniform structure, that becomes potential for revolution, you might be aware. And also the unemployment generation, except in Punjab and some extent in Haryana, the green revolution induced farm mechanization. That is a problem. When you go for introduction of factories, machines, what will happen ultimately? That will naturally throw the people out of that particular sphere, the workforce. That's why the trade union is always opposing even the privatization of banking sector or other things. The cry why they'll be thrown out of employment. That is the thing. So the introduction of mechanization, the farm, that went against that labor force. What happened? They will be forced to migrate to rural to urban areas in pursuit of employment. You might be aware. That we are talking about has created widespread unemployment among rural laborers and also ecological problems. What happened? Continuous exposure to application of fertilizers, pesticides. What will happen? That soil, it's not solely the soil salinity we are talking about. Soil salinity and alkalinity, the alkaline nature you might be, and the water logging, continuous water logging, what will happen? And desertification that makes lands as deserts leads to soil erosion we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, all these things, so that is why in the second generation revolution, we are talking about sustainable agriculture. We don't want that. We want sustainable agriculture. And also, depletion of underground water, because you go for tube well irrigation, especially in the region, Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, to meet the irrigation demand. What happens ultimately? The tube well irrigation, that leads to depletion of the groundwater level. Ultimately, what will happen? The sea water will be, that penetrating. It's fortunately those regions, that far away from, coastal belt. If it is going to be coastal belt, sea water, alkaline water, salt water would have advanced. You might be aware. That is what, we are afraid. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So it is that way. And deforestation, what happened? The green revolution, that agriculture, predominantly, the people cleared all those, forest lands, ultimately utilized them for agriculture purpose. That's what in Punjab, that you talk about, of course, that in Haryana also, both, they've got, forest land less than, of course, 18%, according to national policy. You should have, that the forest cover. You're talking about, it is 3% that particular. No way the states are meeting. You understand, both while UP is having slightly more than 5% area. You just see. Of course, the deforestation, no forest, no rain. That's what, all those process, photosynthesis, everything, well. Ladies and gentlemen, orographic rainfall, everything we are talking about. It is that way, that, and also, that otherwise you are directly supporting global warming. So environmental pollution, we are talking about indiscriminate use of all these chemicals led to environmental pollution. So what happened, right? That ultimately, that enters the water, ultimately getting dissolved, pollute both surface as well as groundwater, water getting contaminated. And also these chemicals ultimately enter the soil and destroy all microorganisms, the humus content That's what you see, the Punjab Haryana region. All the lands will be, that almost like, the sand, white, continuous application of, fertilizers. You will see the lands in such a they lost their humus. It's right time, let them embrace, organic farming. Right? We are talking about, let us germinate that way. So due to limitations of the first green revolution, increasing, that the production of pulses, oil seeds, fruits, vegetables, which are very important for ensuring the nutritional security. The second revolution, because we have to fix all those issues. That's why we went for second revolution, address all those grievances, maladies. There is to have sustainable agriculture, and also parallel introducing, genetically modified varieties. We're talking about second green revolution to fix. Otherwise, now we are thinking about evergreen revolution. Of course, it is German. So the focus of the first green revolution was on increasing the production of the very food grains, because India attained self-sufficiency in food grains. What is the priority? To eradicate famine, hunger. We were importing PL 480 varieties from USA, as I told you. But that time we weren't having that sort of, environmental consciousness. They could not remove their eyes from the stomach. How come they can think about, that the very sky, very part of the earth? The basic food, food, shelter, cloth, we are roti, kapda, makan. The problems are not fixed. How come they can think about infrastructure next level? That is German. Then they would have thought about bijli, sadak, pani. That is German. We are talking about it. So while second generation, that the green revolution we are talking about is committed towards sustainable agriculture. It is German. This is what we are talking about. Of course, what are all the aims otherwise on the part of the second green revolution? To enhance agricultural productivity, not only that, and also to promote food security. It should not be imbalanced, and also to focus more on biotechnology, the genetic engineering, that you talk about, and also to encourage sustainable agriculture that lasts forever. It is not, that you do agriculture, you make cultivation at the cost of the very land, Bhuma Devi. You should have land, the goose and egg theory. When there is no production capacity, how you will get product? So you have to ensure the production capacity. Keep that production capacity always in a fantastic manner. Then otherwise you won't get the products. People somewhat, become imbalanced while maintaining between, product and production capacity, you might be aware. So the agriculture that lasts forever, the agriculture that sustains forever, that should be there. And also increase per capita, the income of the farmers to raise the, the standard of living. That, it is not, agriculture, if it is going to be profitable, it should benefit the, the very agriculture people, the peasants, farmers, even whoever may be part of agriculture. It's not benefiting mere intermediaries as it's happening now. All these guys, intermediaries, that all, mall people, that the big bazaar, all those people, they go to, the production spot. They procure, as I told you, right, a mango, it will be procured for, that 15 rupees per kg. By the time it reaches, the very showroom, it is 250 rupees. Of course, I understand logistics, storage, infrastructure, everything. Then what about agriculture? The farmers are not benefiting out of agriculture. Rather, intermediaries benefiting out of agriculture. And even we have institutions in such a way, the mechanism to support those intermediaries. Agricultural producing marketing committees we talk, and also MSP we talk, FRP we talk, and we got, that the various ministries we talk. In spite of that, that's a cry. How long? That you can't eat, as one communist leader made statement. That some Somnath Chatterjee, I believe, he is no more the best parliamentarian. Hey, when I'm quoting all these things, don't label me as a communist. I'm a humanist by nature. I'm a capitalist by thinking. Forget about that. I'm not communist. I will speak on behalf of, the issues of the people. That's my responsibility. Don't label me. Huh? I'm beyond your, that identity. I'm beyond your identity or labeling theory. Hope you understand. Let us dwell, it is right time. Yeah, that Somnath, that Chatterjee, the best parliamentarian, he spoke, you can't eat software, hardware when you're hungry. The government should be very keen. Of course, that let's appreciate others' point of view. At the same time, we have to balance in such a way. Let us generate. That's what's happening now. How? What we are going to? Or will you through your R&D going to invent some medicine tablets to meet your that meals or tiffin? Come and take this tablet. Lunch tablet. People will be standing in pharmaceutical. That also again that corporate MNCs. Huh? You come to know there'll be policies, planks, capitalistic thinking to become, self-sufficient in staple food, the pulses, oil seeds. It's not only mere wheat and paddy. You also, go for other commercial crops, other variety of, that the crops you're talking about. So this is what the strategy is. Of course, when you talk about green revolution, you talk about, the role, effective role can be played by organic farming, and also, the role of corporates, and biological management, and the role of, animal husbandry we are talking about, and also biofertilizers, that when you talk about organic farming, panchakavya, you would have heard about that, and also manures, the role of manures, more than, fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, they spoil the very land. You might be aware. And vermicompost, that the farmer's friend, the very the worm, you might be aware. Manpuru, Udavargalin Nanban, in Tamil it is called. Of course, you might be aware. And also green leaf manures, that it fixes the very, it takes away the nitrogen from the air, and it has got, and ultimately that becomes, that this decomposers, the green leaves manures, the legumes, you might be aware. We are talking about it. If you're from agriculture family, you would have seen all those things in your the family-based agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, so this is, the strategies, that on the part of, second green revolution. Of course, let's see in terms of words, the micro irrigation they're talking about, because irrigation is playing very key role. Of course, that enables, that optimal synergies of three components, the very green revolution when you talk about, improved seed, water, and fertilizer. So of course, you talk about, the organic farming. When we talk about micro irrigation, sprinkling, the drip irrigation, sprinkling irrigation, we're talking about, that it is that way. So directly you touch, that, and also, that you cover the land by, that some plastic wafer you would have seen, so that you don't expose the land to direct sunlight that loses its humus content, humidity. And also, if you that you also mix with some, that organic manures or panchakavya, or some, that whatever may be the needed input, even fertilizers, everything directly you take you to, that you take it to the root level instead of, that wasting water. You might be aware. That's what optimal, synergies we are talking about. Organic farming, that you go for, even the role of, that the A2, our own local breed, that the cow, you might be cow, and that the bulls, we can employ them, and their, that the cow dung, that their excreta, and not only that, their urinals, in what way they are making 6 to 7 feet of the land is getting converted into organic land. That is what research proves. They have done, that in single acre, the covered plot, when they employ, that all those cows and bulls, in what way they are, that, so you should not, in the name of, beef export or beef eating. I'm not against your eating behavior, whatever, but you be conscious. That's what is the point. Hitherto government was giving, that subsidy to export of beef. They stopped, because it is the right time, that it's not mere conducting jallikattu and taking selfie and spreading, that through your, all those, that celluloid heroes, and spreading, that mere message. What is the purpose? And you participate in jallikattu, and you'll be killing your own cow in your home and eat that. What will happen ultimately? It's making mockery of the whole scenario. You have to understand the purpose. It is our duty to preserve and protect, that the A2 varieties, because well, native breeds. Of course, there are guys, that India, you might be, especially Tamil Nadu, and the various parts of India, it improves agriculture, and that supports, dairy products, so that, our people will not become diabetic. You might be, it is corporate machination making Indians diabetic, ultimately coming with pharmaceutical solutions that benefits developed countries. The Illuminatis are corporate MNCs. So let's that let's be clear about it. I'm not promoting any vegetarianism or vegan. It is up to you. That you got your own choice, but be conscious in whatever you do. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Of course, that there comes your role, even your directive principles of state policy, where you got, your fundamental duty talking about to preserve your rich heritage and culture. You're talking about. So it's not only, the talking about rights, and also parallelly discharging your duties, ladies and gentlemen. So the precision farming we are talking about. So it is, that it ultimately what happens, right? That reduces the production cost. You save, that energy, time, production cost, and also by analyzing variation in various aspects of field environment like weather, soil, vegetation, you get the help of even, that the very R&D, that nearby agriculture universities also for the purpose. And we want, from mere green revolution to evergreen revolution. Otherwise, you go for green agriculture, a system of agriculture based upon integrated pest management. That you should control the pests and integrated nutrition management or nutrient management, and it doesn't eliminate the use of the minimum quantities of fertilizers, chemical fertilizers. That why 100% fertilizers or pesticides, insecticides? Why can't you combine them with so-called the local tradition, organic manures? Why can't you do that? It is that way, that you can, by going for combination, at least you can mitigate the damages that hitherto you have done to the planet of the earth, right? The production capacity. Not only that, ladies and gentlemen, it is bringing green revolution to Eastern India, and especially the scheme we are talking about, the Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, that has been launched in 2010-11. It's part of that scheme, bringing the very Eastern India, especially the very green revolution we are talking about, to improve rice and wheat based cropping system in the Eastern India. The scheme, this is all that the part of that the positive changes we are talking about, second generation. Ladies and gentlemen, and not only that, you also that the very role that the played by environmental activists, you might be aware, the Vandana Shiva, she in her article, of course, that the seeds of suicide, especially the article she wrote in the Asian Age, where she spoke about second green revolution driven by multinational and private interests that has made agriculture a costly affair, the input cost increase, and also it has become unsustainable affair. It's an accusation, might be aware. So this is all the negativity we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Parallelly, that it is, of course, and not only that, you have to think about parallelly various especially sociologists, in what way they contributed to this particular topic. It's otherwise it becomes GS. You might be aware. The story now. That how the very green revolution, that India attained self-sufficiency in food grains, and also that it is not that it is responsible for regional imbalances. How it affected that small and marginal farmers. How that the people pushed to migration or internal migration. How that the very that the change in culture, the owner became worker, and also how it affected agricultural labor force when they migrated to urban areas. Ultimately, how women and children got reduced to face all those challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about so, and apart from that, of course, this is the right time that let me introduce you sociologists here. Paul Brass, that who spoke about the sociologist spoke about increased participation of affluent farmers class, and the success of green revolution. Green revolution became successful because of the affluent farmers class. Rich gets richer, poor gets poorer, and it is because of that that affluence, affordability, the land availability, the input cost involved, that became possible for them. That's according to that particular point highlighted by Paul Brass. And not only that, Satyadev, the seed corporations in Haryana, you find mostly completely hijacked by the North Indian, especially that the Haryana, that the dominant farmers of that the Haryana, they took away. Why? Because that region ultimately. So affordability, once again, we are talking about regional imbalances. Now they move to the next level. By controlling seed, they control the entire agriculture. They control the seed supply. It will control the entire agriculture. Now we are talking about terminated seed variety, part of the genetically modified foods also. Genetical engineering. You might be genetic engineering approval appraisal committee recently gave approval for that. You might be aware. The terminated seed variety and its impact on agriculture, the cattle population, its impact on human population, and you would be forced to buy every time seed, especially from Mako, Monsanto. You're forced to depend on foreign, a guy who is sitting part of MNC somewhere in the developed country, he decides, what sort of agriculture should be practiced in India. The remote control is there. Is globalization indirectly, that making you to lose your sovereignty by becoming signatory to the multilateral treaties in the world? That comes another question. And even within India, you talk about, guys, the dominant farmers sitting in Haryana, they control all those seed corporations. They decide in which part of India, that what sort of agriculture should be performed. They become, the pressure group. They become remote control. They decide. Yes, of course, the government has to, of course, that it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Ashish Bose, another sociologist, of course, the preference for male child, because, the agriculture involves, the workforce that demands, more male people to participate. Of course, that in green revolution, the preference for male kid, because increased attachment with increased land value, the female is not preferred kid. Sex ratio imbalances, you understand? That particular point highlighted by Ashish Bose we are talking about. And Nivedita Menon, Green Revolution has given way to the feminization of poverty. Poverty has become the domain of the very female people, because male people are relatively, it is that way. And also intensification of patriarchy, the male chauvinism, and the head of the family is always male because he is the breadwinner. The women are reduced to the poverty, otherwise the women's contribution is not appreciated. Otherwise, even if they are paid very low wages when compared with male counterparts. If you go to rural areas, you will see the discrepancy in wages. It's not equal pay for equal work. The gender discrimination, feminization of poverty we are talking about, and widening the demographic divide. That the population is getting divided. Study about population is called demography. It's widening demographic, sex ratio imbalances, of course, you talk about. So the girl child is seen as there's some sort of burden, inauspicious. That goes with the nature of the traditional patriarchal or male chauvinistic society, given the fact it's apart from that, with that society today you witness honor killings by kangaroo courts or cop panchayat. The intercaste marriages never tolerated. Ultimately, that leads to murder also. Otherwise, dissolution of marriages. Who is getting affected? By the time that the girl would have become, pregnant, women and children are getting affected. You might be aware of all these things, ladies and gentlemen. So, Paul Brass, Satyadev, Ashish Bose, Nivedita Menon. Of course, if you look at the very, that agriculture, say the Green Revolution and its impact on India, if you speak in favor of the very Green Revolution responsible for that eradicating hunger, famine, and poverty to some extent, and also for generating employment, and also India attained self-sufficiency in food grains. So widening social inequality, got arrested, and that resulted in some sort of social order that promoted peace in Indian society. People who that ultimately fulfilled their the basic needs, they started focusing on next level. They started focusing on health, education. So so Green Revolution is functional to Indian society. This is structural functionalism school of thought. If you look at, as I told you in the beginning, if you look at under conflict school of thought perspective, that there are exploiters everywhere. The rich landowners, that using this Green Revolution, use of high yielding variety seeds, ultimately fertilizers, pesticides, whatever may be, mechanization of agriculture, everything that facilitated only affordable landlords, not the poor people. Rich gets richer, poor gets poorer. So already, that widened social inequality, further getting widened because of the Green Revolution. This inequality, it is this injustice, non-distributive justice is ripe for revolution. That's according to conflict school of thought. You can speak. It becomes additional tool in the hands of exploiters. Yeah, you can look at the same thing from two different perspectives. Ladies and gentlemen. Of course, that it is right time, that of course, that you can go through all those NCERTs, that ignore related materials. I think, what are all the materials you get part of general studies, you can refer, that variety of articles available in the net, well. Well what I'm talking about. You can link, I think, that the necessary sociologists, our sociological flavor I gave you already. It is right time. Ladies and gentlemen, that I think better you understood hitherto. We spoke about the very Green Revolution and its impact on Indian society. This is what we looked at. This is what the syllabus. Now, write a note on uneven impact. You have seen what are the uneven impacts in Green Revolution, especially on rural society, right? And social consequences, both negative and positive. Social consequences in the sense, social function. Critically analyze social functions of Green Revolution. The question can be rephrased this way. The social consequences could be functional as well as dysfunctional. You can write both. Critically in-depth analysis, you can do that. Of course, now you are capable of doing because you know the stuff. So we said change in society, culturally, structurally, functionally, both in rural and urban areas impact. Of course, we spoke about, that gave brief, the very Green Revolution in India, how it came, what is the very purpose, and also, that overall the fathers of, Green Revolution we spoke, and also the timeline of Green Revolution we spoke at length, and also the various components on the part of the Green Revolution. Of course, we talk about high yielding variety seeds and the role of irrigation facility, and also the chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, and also, that how the land holdings should be consolidated, and also the very land reforms also parallelly facilitated to some extent, and also institutionalized lending, and the rural electrification programs. Of course, electricity a crucial factor, and mechanization and role of R&D, and various institutions including agriculture universities we spoke, and also the positive impact we spoke, how the productivity maximization, the farmers, how they could become very prosperous, and also that the reduction of that import driven economy. Of course, we started exporting also parallelly we spoke. Not only that, that even the non-traditional areas where this rice and wheat penetrated, and also that led to industrial growth also. We spoke, that employment generation, and also the Hanumanta Rao, that the irrigation expert, part of World Bank, gone to the extent of endorsing, the very green revolution. In what way? 5 to 10 million, that the workforce got injected either directly or indirectly because of the green revolution in India. Apart from, that improvement in food security, that well. When you talk about negative impacts, of course, the unevenness, regional imbalances that favored only few crops, and also the lands of other crops took away, by this green revolution. That went against other core cereals, even commercial cash crops. That resulted in the launch of second green revolution to have sustainable agriculture. We spoke at length. So the very green revolution negative consequences or dysfunctional aspects of green revolution we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. The intercrop, that disparities, it's called brown revolution, it's no more green revolution. And also regional disparities, only 40% of the crop area covered by green revolution, 60% of the lands untouched by green revolution. You understand? The mark is 40 marks only. So, and that two regions we spoke, that not throughout India. And also the widening inequality, because of rich gets richer, poor gets poorer. And also that unemployment it generated, because that evicting that the tenants from the land, because big landlords, they started doing direct agriculture by incorporation of mechanization. You might be aware, the technology. So ultimately people were thrown out of agriculture, they became landless laborers, they migrated to urban areas. That generated unemployment. And ecological problems, how soil salinity, alkalinity, and waterlogging, desertification, soil erosion, everything we spoke. And also the deep contamination of the groundwater because of tube well irrigation, we spoke at length, ladies and gentlemen. And deforestation, reduced forest cover. See, 3%, 5%, that's very bad. When the nation's forest policy talking about that 16 to, of course, 18% we spoke. So the environmental pollution parallelly, because of the exposure to the chemicals, that the insecticides, pesticides, that's what we are talking about. The role of organic farming, that evergreen agriculture, everything. And also that's why the very second green revolution, that for sustainable agriculture, and also evergreen agriculture, and also genetically the role of biotechnology, not only promoting food security, and also the role of other crops, the cash crop cereals, and also increasing the per capita income of farmers, and also rising the standard of living we're talking about. Of course, that what's happening in the country, the farm bills, opposition, and governments inviting them for dialogue. And also, you might be aware all those, liberalization versus protection of farmers, liberalization of agriculture versus protection of small and marginal farmers. You might be aware. So the role of organic farming, and very crucial. And it also talks about the various the strategies on the part of second revolution, by fixing the maladies on the part of the first generation green revolution, where we spoke about the introduction of that white revolution. We attained self-sufficiency, the dairy products, thanks to Dr. Varghese Kurian we spoke. And also meat production, the pink that revolution we spoke. And also organic farming, micro irrigation system, precise farming, drip and sprinkling irrigation, and green agriculture. It's a combination of both fertilizers, pesticides, as well that panchakavya, like organic manure they're talking about, and leguminous plants we talk about, green. And also vermicompost we are talking about, well. And also that we talk about the very eastern India also brought under this particular category under Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, 2011, we are talking about. And also the Vandana Shiva, how she spoke, even the second green revolution driven by multinational private interests. And also agriculture has become costly and unsustainable affair. That's according to Vandana Shiva. And various sociologists, Paul Brass, Satyadev, Ashish Bose, Nivedita Menon, how they reflected over various aspects of this green revolution and its impact on Indian society. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the right time. As I told you, I want you to consult various articles under green revolution. You please do not hesitate to refer our Indian Agriculture Ministry, and various articles under green revolution, first generation revolution, second generation revolution we are talking about, and India's agriculture, with that wide angle approach. And also articles from Economic and Political Weekly, Yojana. You can understand. Apart from that, the basic information, NCERT and IGNOU materials. I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think that I would have taken you to the right path. Hope I would have made your time very valuable. I'm extremely sorry for the taking away your the time meant for your celebration, Diwali festival. That I understand. I think, I made difference. I made it is worthwhile, that of your spending of the time. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your foundation, and you're going to move to the next level with that understanding. You're going to work more so that you benefit more out of that this session. Welcome to Unacademy once again. This is Success Sampath, hitherto interacted with you. Ladies and gentlemen, please use my referral code the success to avail maximum 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, this is that right time. Let me that sign up from you. Ladies and gentlemen, signing up from you, Success Sampath. Let's meet tomorrow with another topic. That ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Good night, everyone.